Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about some of the easiest houseplants that I have. I have quite a few around me and I can't have them all here at the same time, so I am going to be doing this in segments. If the lighting and position changes a little bit, that is why. The first one that we're going to talk about is one that I actually really enjoy, and that is a cactus. Now I have multiple. This one is actually a Christmas cactus that was given to me by my mother-in-law. It was her mom's, and so it is the biggest one that I have. I absolutely love this. It will get buds on it around Thanksgiving, Christmas time, and then after it blooms, it does go dormant a little bit, so it does kind of look like it is dying a little bit after it blooms, but that's just because it takes so much energy to get the blooms. But this one is took me a little while to figure out because it's called a Christmas cactus and it doesn't like to be watered a ton, but it does like to be fully saturated when it is watered. And so if you notice that the leaves are getting really thin and flimsy, they almost get see-through, it just needs a really good watering in my experience. So I do have this. The next cactus that I have, I am not 100% sure what type of cactus it is, but it is my my favorite besides the family Christmas cactus. But this one I actually just got in a little small 2-inch pot last year, and it has tripled in size. I've had to repot it. This is a whole second cactus. I really like it. I get this to grow. I put it in, it's been in direct sun and it's also been in partial shade. It's grown in both places without getting super stringy. And again, this one likes it when I don't water it very often. When I do water this one, I don't super saturate it. I do occasionally super saturate it, but I usually just would water it so that the soil is damp, and again, don't do it very often. Now the reason that I mentioned the lighting thing, that it does okay in low light, is because I have this guy. And this guy is one of the ones that you see at Walmart where it's just the one stem and then it has the colored flower on top. Now, obviously, I have grown all these crazy offshoots, so while it is growing, I'm pretty sure the reason that it's so long and stringy is because I don't have it in bright enough light, or I didn't where I had it, because it grew really fast, but I just don't feel like it's supposed to be that long and stringy. So just something to keep in mind. If your plants appear to be stretching, they are looking for brighter light. Now, as of right now, those are the only cacti that I have. So the next one we're going to go into is succulents, because I treat them pretty much the same. I have quite a few of those as well. This is my largest one. And this actually looks like this when it's small. This again, kind of stretched. I didn't have it in bright enough light. This one is one that I actually got on sale because it was dying, and it also had some sort of something on it. So I actually did cut the top when I got it. I cut it, it was probably this high, and I cut that off because the top was infested with something, and I got it all cleaned up, and now you can see all I did was just chop it with a clean pair of scissors, and it is getting a new bud there and there. So these are really resilient. Again, don't water these very often and they will love you. This is another one that I got super on sale. It is just one little guy. Hasn't really done much. This is a relatively recent purchase. And then I have this guy. Again, we've got some stretching, so what you could do is I could just cut all of these and then they would grow again like those. I'm actually just going to let it go, and I have it in brighter light now. We're going to see what happens. And then the last one is, these are actually like hens and chicks that needed brighter light. I had these like all together on the same shelf, and they weirdly grew over winter, which typically I haven't had plants that have continued to grow through the winter, so I kind of neglected them because again, they don't need water that often. And it's like I came back and they were all like super tall and stretched out. So again, I'm going to leave this. I actually bought this one to plant outside and never ended up planting it inside. So I haven't decided yet if it's going to stay inside. It might not. Not 100% sure. But again, succulents are really easy to keep alive. I do struggle with the Burrow's tail succulent. Just something to keep in mind that some of them are a little bit tougher than others. I've had really good luck with this guy. Anything that looks like this. Burrow's tail has been a little bit difficult. Hens and chicks are really easy. Hens and chicks are actually really easy if you put them outside too, because you can just kind of like wiggle them into the dirt and then they will grow and they will multiply like crazy. So I really do like those. Now I'm going to put these away and switch out to the next round. All right, so the next ones that we're going to talk about is one of my favorites, and I don't know why I love them so much. I just do, but I love Pothos. Now, this one right here was actually the very first plant that I ever had. You wouldn't be able to tell because it's not very big, and Pothos actually grow really fast. But this guy has actually survived a lot of neglect. Like, I have almost killed this one like 3 times. Like, a few years ago, it was down to like one little leaf, and it has came back, and this is a golden Pothos, so it has some yellow flecks. Let's see. This guy reverted. If you don't keep a golden Pothos in enough sunlight, it will lose its golden, which mine still has some, but not as much as it probably once did. It is growing a lot right now. I also don't keep this hanging, and so I don't have any, really. I only have one of my Pothos that I've let get kind of long because I don't hang most of them currently. So I will let this one fill out and overflow, but I probably won't let it get super long. But this is a golden Pothos. I love her. This one is a Pothos Enjoy. I actually just got this as like a 2-inch start last summer, so we have a ton of new growth back here, but she started small. That's why she's still small. She's growing beautifully. I do keep this one in a self-watering pot. That is the thing with Pothos. I water them pretty heavily. I keep them moist almost all the time. And these do really well. Like, you can also like grow these in water, which I actually forgot that one. So I do need to change the water out. It is kind of gross, but you can see like I have roots growing in here, and this is just some starts from my golden Pothos. So I will let it get roots, and then I'll put it in a pot with sphagnum moss, again keeping it really short. But you can also just keep these in water, and they stay alive in water for an indefinite amount of time. So that is again one of the reasons that I really like Pothos, because they're not super particular about their lighting situation, and they do really well with a inconsistent watering as well. Obviously they will do better if you are consistent, and they also do like it to be pretty bright, but I do have them in the shade, and while they grow slower, they don't die either. So that is what this one doesn't get a ton of sun. It is the only hanging one that I have. This is a neon Pothos. It is the longest hanging one that I have. And this one's actually a relatively recent purchase as well, but it is filling out really well, and it does, I do have this facing the closest light that it has, because I would like to even it out a little bit. She's a little short on the back side, but I do really like her. I just think the color is really cool on this one. And then this is a Marble Queen Pothos. This one again is a relatively recent purchase. I don't know I really want her to get really long. I would love to hang her in my kitchen, but she's really heavy. And so I have to figure out if I'm actually going to be able to, or if I need to propagate one of her so that it's smaller. So to propagate these, you just cut in between the leaves, which is the nodes, which are these. This is a node and this is a node. And then again, you just pop that in water, and where those nodes are, you will get roots. So that is what I did with the one that is in the jar. So again, super easy to keep alive and super easy to propagate. I am actually testing out not water, soil propagation of these. So this is my golden pothos. And you wouldn't know it because this is one of the leaves that kind of reverted back to solid green. And so what I did is I cut all the leaves in between the nodes, and then I just put all of those in soil. And so far we are getting some, you can't really see it. It's like right here, like we're getting a couple new leaves, so it's working really well. I wanted to test this out because sometimes I don't have a high success rate of transferring the propagations from the jar of water to soil, because honestly I don't keep it wet enough once it gets in the soil because it's used to being in water all the time. So just putting it in soil shocks it unless you keep it super saturated all the time. So I thought maybe if I started it in soil it would be better. So this is the first time I've done it this way, but I've done water propagation a ton. And I actually have just always have a pothos in that jar even after it gets roots. And I put it, like I've actually water propagated some of this one and just put it back in here because I didn't take care of her for a long time. But anyways, so I love my pothos. I want like every variation that there is because I love them. I think they're beautiful. I love when you just see them like draping, but then I like that you can also just keep them short. And they're super easy. So highly recommend a pothos as like your very first plant. I just love them. All right, so the next one is kind of similar looking to the pothos, but that is a philodendron. I have two different types. This is a Philodendron Brazil, which I really like. The coloring is really cool. I keep these in philodendrons in self-watering pots. I actually have all of mine in self-watering pots because they love to always have their soil saturated. This one is growing longer than bushy, and so I will probably take one of these dangles and I will wrap it around, and that is how you get bushy tops. I just use like bobby pins to pin this to the soil. And I've actually done that on this one. This is a heartleaf philodendron, but it's actually growing up right now because it's pushing out a ton of leaves, but we have a ton of leaves up here. It's really full. It's not like long and bushy yet, but I've actually taken some of these and twined them around so that I'll have a fuller top along with the dangles. Now, my leaves are very small. I think that it needed to be fertilized sooner than I fertilized it because some of these leaves are a little bit bigger. This is also not a super old plant. I bought this when I bought the Pothos Enjoy, and so this one did grow faster. It was again in like a little 2-inch, so it has grown a ton. The leaves are just really small. So I think it's partially I needed to fertilize it a little bit, and second, it's just not a super old plant. They're super easy. Again, with like the pothos, even though they like to stay super saturated, they are pretty flexible when it comes to light and watering schedule. Oops. And then I also have this Brazil that has a long shoot. I like wrap this around one of my like decor cases, but we've got a lot of growth up here. Again, you can actually see a bobby pin. I guess I don't know if it'll pick it up on camera, but there's a bobby pin in here because I actually pinned some of it in here too so that it doesn't just automatically drape off the side. So kind of like the pothos, but a philodendron, super easy. You take care of it basically the same way. These two specifically, because there's actually a wide range of philodendrons. Like I'm getting a pink princess philodendron, which I'm super excited about, and I would not classify that as a easy beginner plant. But the heartleaf philodendron and the philodendron Brazil, I would. All right, so this next one, I think that that's the end of the plants that I have multiple of, but this is a snake plant. It's also called mother-in-law's tongue. Super easy if you don't love it too much. It can tolerate bright or low light, and it does not like to be watered. Like I water this once a month. I actually had a second one that I did overwater and ended up killing because I watered it too much and it wasn't getting very much light. So while I do think this is a very easy plant to take care of, just keep in mind that although these plants are easy to take care of, you still can kill them to an extent. So again, loving a plant too much has been the surefire way that I have killed the plants that I have killed. So again, we only water this one once a month, and I keep her in pretty low light. She's about 4 feet to the side of a window. So she gets a little light, not a ton, and she's doing good. All right, you guys, so we're at the last 3 plants that I think are super good beginner plants, and the first one I'm gonna talk about is the ZZ plant. Now, I do have this in a self-watering plant, but I don't actually use it as a self-watering plant. It does not like to stay super wet. It, again, is one that if you forget to water it, it will like you better. So, again, we don't water this very often. Once, maybe twice a month in the summer, and I got this one as a little, like, 4-inch start last summer, and this is how much it has grown. And it is one that it will grow really tall and not necessarily super wide. This one actually does really well if you stake it and kind of train it, because once it gets bigger, these will drape over. We actually have a really, really big one of these at my office, and it does drape. So I actually took in some of my own stakes and kind of staked it up, but we do have a ton of new growth. And also this is a really, really good low light plant. So I have this on the basically the farthest from a window that you can get in my house. It is on the interior wall of a room, and it does great. I've never tried putting this in direct sunlight because this is a really good plant if you have a not sunny space. I know sometimes it can be hard to find a plant that can go across the room from a window. A ZZ plant is a really good one. There is also a Raven ZZ plant where all these leaves are basically like black. I really want one of those. I would assume, I haven't actually looked into it because I haven't, I know I'm not going to have one yet. So I would assume that the care is the same for a Raven ZZ. They look really cool, but super easy to take care of. The next one is a Ponytail Palm. Now, this one, again, is super easy. It likes to be in a smaller pot. I do actually need to repot this one because we have some of the, I can see some of the roots. So it does need a little bit more room, but I've had this one for like 2 years, and it's gonna be the first time I've had to repot it. This has not really changed size, but we've gotten a ton of leaves. One thing to keep in mind, that even when this plant is happy, you will still get some brown tips. It's just kind of the nature of these. If it is unhappy, the leaves, I actually have some because it got mad at me a little bit over the winter, but these leaves where it has this bend, oh, I'm out of frame, sorry. Where it has this bend, like the leaves will just like fall over, whereas when it's happy, they should just curve out like this. They should curve up and out without having like the kink in them. So that is one way to tell if they're happy or not. This one does like sunnier spots, but it also does well across the room as well, kind of like the ZZ. I did have this on my kitchen island for a while, and it doesn't get a lot of sunlight there. So yeah, just another super easy one. Again, doesn't need watered all the time, but it can also be flexible with the watering schedule that it can tolerate. Now, the last one that I'm going to share is one of my all-time favorite plants. She is like the showstopper in my living room. I did have to repot her over the winter, so that was not the best thing for her, but she has came out of that shock and she is looking great right now. But that is a Monstera deliciosa, and she is my biggest plant. They do get really large. They do, when they're happy, they do grow a ton, but I just have had really good luck and she's been really easy to take care of. Again, I have her in various lighting situations because when I repotted her, I actually did get 3 new starts off of her as well. So she's growing like crazy, and you can see I have all sorts of new leaves coming in on her, and it's just the beginning of spring. So if you want something that will get fairly big fairly quickly, I do recommend this guy. I did buy her in an 8-inch pot, so I didn't buy a super small one to start out with, but they do grow fairly quickly. Again, various lighting situations, and I just water her as soon as her soil gets dry. So sometimes I'm pretty consistent that it's like once a week. Sometimes I forget and it is a little longer, and she doesn't hate me for it. Again, don't overwater them. That is like the worst thing that you can do. The easiest way to kill even an easy plant is to overwater them. And so in my experience, watering less is always better. If you have to go one way or the other, forgetting a watering is a lot better than accidentally watering twice when it should have only been once. So just again, something to keep in mind. I also put one of her, this guy in water when I propagated her in the winter. I have an air root that's growing out of the jar, and I have roots at the bottom. And I did get a new leaf, but it was interesting because it turned brown before it completely unfurled. So I'm not 100% sure what that was about. I just used my regular well water. I didn't use like filtered water or anything. So I don't know if that's what like burnt the new leaf. Not sure. I'm also not sure how long I'm going to leave this in water. I really like the look of it, so probably a while, but that's kind of like my test. That was my test, is just water propagation, and it was a really easy. I literally just cut it. Again, they have nodes, so this right here is a node. I cut just below it, and that is where the roots are growing. And yeah, so that is my list of super easy houseplants. I hope that this was helpful and that you can get some of these because I absolutely love them. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.